G'day guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome to part 1 of the 7 for 7 Karina challenge, where we're required to use just 7-star champions to complete Act 7. Now, there's a lot of good champions that I have as 7 stars, so I wanted to challenge myself for a bit, not use Hulk for everything or not use Chavez for everything. I'm obviously going to be mostly using Venom the Duck. Some people think he's the worst 7-star in the game, but I'm about to prove them wrong. So, let's get into it. Alright, so first quest is obviously 7.1.1, and we're going to be building a team around Venom the Duck. Well, we wanted to build a team around Venom the Duck, but unfortunately, I only have one of his synergies available as a 7-star, which is Venom. That basically gives him 40% of his aberration at the start of the fight, which sort of fast tracks his first buff. So let's see how he goes. We're going to be taking this path over to the top right. It has Mighty Charge and a few other nodes as well, like Predator Burn, God of Light. Should be easy to ramp him up. And the first buff we get is a precision buff. So it's absolutely one we're going to want to take. Ideally in these quests we want to get 3 buffs that we can double down in the second fight. Ideally that's going to be precision, power gain and fury, but we're not always going to get that. Sometimes we get regen. We don't really need regen because Venom the Duck's a tank. So we might get regen a few times, but most of the time we're not going to need it. Buff number 3 is power gain buff. We'll take that. And number 4 is armor up. No thank you. Number 5 is power gain. We could get a second power gain, but it's better to just go for 3 different ones, ideally. Next one we get is regen. We don't want regen. And now we get a fury, so we can take this into the second fight. Alright, fight number 2 against Hulk. We've got fury, precision, and a power gain. So we want to double these down, get 2 of each. That will store 6 buffs in our RNA bank. Unfortunately, I made a mistake because I let our first buff of this fight go over and it was another precision. So we banked 2 precisions and 1 fury and no power gain. So very poor timing from me there. Okay, next fight, Thor Ragnarok. So as you can see there, we only banked 1 of those power gain buffs from the last fight, so massive mistake there. It means it's going to be slower for us to build power at the start of this fight. And we get an armor up buff at the start of this, which is very bad. But we go for a special 2 anyway to turn off Thor's power gain. And we get 2 toxic armors. Fortunately, we get an armor up buff. Go for another special 2. Not bad. And then a final special 2 to finish him off. So Diablo now, we have 7 buffs in the bank. 2 power gain, 3 precision, and 2 fury. So we can store 3 more buffs in our bank. And we're going to do that with a special 2. One more special 2. And now we're cooking. Alright, time for the first boss of Act 7. We've got a Black Widow, Deadly Origin. So we've got the node that basically means you have to parry a bunch, and then when she decks, she gets a passive stun on her. So we want to get a few evades up before we start hitting her. I decided to get a few hits in when she had 4 while we had our initial buffs up still. And then we will load up a bunch of evades ready for a special 3. So we've got 11 evades now, go for the decks, got the passive stun, hit the special 3. This will reactivate all our buffs, and this fight has stun vulnerability as well, so we're going to be hitting for triple the damage. Okay, quest number 2. We're going to be dropping Bishop from the team because he had a terrible performance. We're going to be bringing in a 7-star Falcon. So we're going to be taking this path down the bottom right with Mixmaster and Cosmic Avalanche and the node where you have to throw a special over 15 hits. So let's get this duck ramped up. We're starting with a perfect block, which we don't want. Armor up. Armor up. Regen. Perfect block. Armor up. And then we finally get a Fury buff as we start abusing his armor up rating with our Toxic Armors. And then a second Fury buff. So it was pretty late in the fight. I decided just to bank this one. And then we finally get a precision buff, which we do want to bank before the end of this fight. And that's it for Red Skull. So now Black Panther, we want to ideally get some power gain buffs going. We're starting with a perfect block though. We get a Fury buff, which would have been 3. I decided just to leave it. Regen. Regen. And here's where he didn't want to start throwing special attacks, so we'd get trapped into the corner. Bad duck. But we do finally get a power gain buff later in the fight. So now Doc Hawk, we got 6 buffs, although 4 Furies. So ideally we want to get more precision and power gain. We're starting with a regen. Perfect block, don't want that. But we managed to finish this fight just at the end of time with a precision buff. And now Silver Surfer. Bad duck. So after the Venom the Duck mishap, we got through Guillotine with America Chavez, and then took down Everfrost with Falcon. Which meant it was time for the boss, and we started to use Hulk. So this matchup is really good for Hulk because of the red lining node. Basically means we can cycle special 1s and special 2s very, very easily. So once Gamma Rage goes up, we throw our first special 1, puts a super long stun on, and we're able to use that red lining node to push us to a special 2 straight away. Throw another special 1 to get the stun locked on again. Special 2. And we pretty much finish off with a special 1. Sorry, a striker and then special 2. And that's 7.1.2 done. Okay, so now for quest number 3. Going with the same team, and we go for this path through the middle. It's going to lead to the Red Hulk boss. And the nodes here are Life Transfer, Gimme, and Redouble Termination. Spectre doesn't really work. It's not really a thing on this path. So these fights will go really quickly because we can basically use the Life Transfer healing to kill them. But we also do want to get some buffs along the way. We'll start with a regen. Another regen. And another regen. And by that time, he's already dead. We actually did bank one of the regens because it will mean extra damage to Aegon here. As you can see, 1300 a tick by us doing absolutely nothing. So we start this fight with another regen. Could have banked this one as well. Another regen. That's the only buff we've gotten so far. So we head into the third fight, only having 1 buff secured so far. But it doesn't matter because these fights are taking 30 seconds. We get a power gain here, so we would want to bank that. So we've got 3 buffs now, a Fury, a power gain, and a regen. And that contributes to big boy damage. That's 2 combos, he's halfway down. Okay, so now it's time for the boss. He has Power Focus 1 and Foresight, but defective defense as well. The biggest problem here is Buffet, Venom the Duck's worst nightmare. But Venom the Duck doesn't care. Okay, now for quest number 4. Going with a bit of a different team. Got a few poison immune champs because, well, the boss is Wolverine Weapon X, so we want some champs that can provide some backup for Venom the Duck should he need it. But we're taking this path here that's not really suited for Venom the Duck because whenever you crit, you remove their armor up buffs, which is bad for Venom the Duck because he likes when the opponent has armor up buffs. So it's going to be a bit of a challenge, but Venom the Duck can handle it. First buff's an armor up. Not a good start. Regen. Another regen. A third regen. A perfect block. Armor up. And then we finally get a good buff, being precision. So we want to bank this. And we're going to use the striker to chain into a heavy. It's going to bank our first buff. Although he's already dead, pretty much. Another regen. Armor up. And so we enter the second fight only having one buff out of 10, being one of the ones we wanted. Probably even more than 10. And we start the next fight with a regen. He is being a very bad duck right now. That's another armor up. And we did bank the precision that we got at the start of the fight. So this is going to be 3 precisions on us as we whiff our special 2. So it took me until one of the last fights to realise that I really should be throwing special 3s instead of special 2s. You can see we have 4 precisions, 4 furies and 2 armor up buffs now because the special 2, while it applies that nice toxic armor, it's a toxic armor that we can just remove without crits, so it does nothing for us. It's better just to keep those special 3 cycling, keep those buffs up as much as we can. And ideally we want to have their armor up buffs as low as possible before going for a special 3, because we don't want any of our big damage numbers to just crit for 0. So we finally made it to the boss being Weapon X, and I brought those poison champs as backup because this guy does have poison vulnerability. It means he'll take triple damage while he's poisoned. And I wasn't sure because I wasn't quite sure if Venom the Duck was able to push past this regen, but it turns out he could. He actually did really well here. So he activates his first Berserker Rage there, and we want to just wait until some of these charges wear off before throwing our special 3. Unfortunately, I got clipped there, but we do survive before we can throw do survive in time to throw a special 3. And we are cooking now. Bad duck. But we quickly finish him off with Mysterio. And then it's on to quest number 5. However, for quest number 5, we're not going to be using Venom the Duck much, because there really wasn't many paths that suited him, unfortunately. I know, unbelievable, right? One of the best champions in the game, can't even find a path for him. So we're going to be testing out our 7-star Black Cat. So Black Cat did a terrific job on the path. She just absolutely destroyed all of those champions. The way she just turns off those abilities and uses that to multiply her crit damage rating, plus all the bleeds doing triple damage, makes her insane for that path. But now we're onto the boss, Punishing Angel. Still using Red in the Dark, however, an unramped Red in the Dark. So it's going to be a slow fight. But I did manage to bank 2 Furies and a Power Gain for this special 3. I also had a Precision loaded up as well, that had just popped up. And we got 12 Mercy charges here, so this is the only time we can really do damage. Every other time she takes like 5% damage, 10% damage or something. So it's a slow grind, but we're going to get down eventually. We get the solo. On to quest number 6. So before starting the 6th quest, I did decide to change my relic that I had on Venom the Duck. Before I did have this puny little 3-star Venom who doesn't have any abilities really. Decided to upgrade that to a 4-star Venom. That's the best one we had. That does 10% bleed vulnerability, and also we have a rune that gives extra crit damage rating per unique buff we have. Great for Venom the Duck. Alright, so quest number 6 now. We're going in with pretty standard team. We've got a few backups for the Spider Gwen boss, like the Ghost Spider. This is a great path for Venom the Duck, or for anyone really, because it has stun vulnerability. But let's see how much we can get him ramped up. Start off with a Fury buff, awesome. There is also Footloose on this node, so they will go unstoppable every time they throw a special attack. And unfortunately I got clipped there. We do have a second Fury buff ready to go if we want. And I do decide to take it this time. And perfect, we get a Power Gain buff next. So I played that really poorly because the Power Gain buff didn't actually convert. We ended up killing him before I threw the special attack. So we didn't convert the Power Gain. So let's see if we can get some of this fight. And perfect, we start off with 1. We get a 3rd Fury ready to go, which we do decide to take. So we've got 3 Furies and 1 Power Gain now. So we throw a special 2 at the start of the She-Hulk fight. That converts 3 of our Furies, so we now have 6. And like I said before, each one is diminishing returns, so each Fury is less and less potent than the previous one. That's why you don't want to stack up 6 or 7 of the same buff. You want to go for variety. So we didn't want 3 Furies converted this fight. We wanted at least to convert the power gain, but we got a bit unlucky. But that means we will hit pretty hard for the rest of these fights. Yeah, so Venom the Dark just destroyed the rest of that path. And now we get to the boss. Very tricky one, Spider Witch, because she has Staggering Beauty, inverted controls during her special attacks, and like Scarlet Witch, she can place poisons on us, and also evade. So we want to obviously get her a special 2 in as soon as we can, but unfortunately she power drains us. And she has 4 of her Spider Sense charges now, so she's going to start evading a lot, and she's putting poisons on us. It's very tricky doing this fight without a poison immune. But luckily for us, we have Hulk. And that's going to do it for Act 7.1 as we make our way towards our very first Titan Crystal. Hope you enjoyed this episode, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.